Hi golfers, Brad McIntosh here from Golf Tech Hong Kong. In today's video, we're going to discuss a chronic problem that I see on a daily basis teaching lessons and also on the golf course, and that is people's contact with their irons. So when golfers' contact is typically bad, it's one of two things. Either one, they're hitting the ground first or hitting the ground before the ball, or two, they are topping the ball and not hitting the ground at all. So let's start with hitting the ground first. Now, there's a lot of pieces that go into that conversation, but today we're going to pick two. First one will be where someone's body weight is throughout the swing and at impact. The second will be the wrists and the location of the wrists in the downswing and at impact. Okay, so let's start with the body weight conversation. When I see people hit the ground before the ball, one of the first things I look at is where their body weight is at impact. Typically, when someone's striking the ground prior to hitting the ball, a commonality is that their weight is far back. Now let's take a look at how our OptiMotion technology can help identify and measure where somebody's hip sway or where their body weight is throughout the swing. I will very briefly show you a swing on the left and then a swing on the right of two golfers doing the exact opposite. Golfer on the left has a very high chance of hitting the ground first, and golfer on the right has a very high chance of hitting the ground after the ball. Let's watch the swing on the left first. And see as the golfer moves back how that icon in the center of the hips starts moving backwards away from their intended target, whereas the golfer on the right would start moving the center of their hips the opposite direction or towards the target. And now at impact with the golfer on the left who hit the ground before the ball, and now the golfer on the right going to impact hitting the ground after the ball. You can see there's a 10-inch difference between each golfer's hip sway and where their body weight is at impact. So the second thing we'll discuss is the wrists, or the location of the grip end of the club in the downswing when the shaft is parallel to the ground. Typically, people that are striking the ground before the ball have an early release or an early uncocking of their wrists in the downswing. So when the shaft is parallel to the ground, if the grip end of the club is too far back behind the ball, there's a very high chance that someone's going to hit the ground first. Therefore, they would need to make some sort of other movement to not hit the ground first, which leads us to the other bad kind of contact. The good players, or the consistent players who hit the ground in the right spot after the ball each time, are able to get the grip end of the club more forward or more in line with the ball prior to the uncocking or the release of their wrists, which allows them to strike the ground past the ball and take a nice divot. Now let's take a look at where the wrist location, or where the grip end of the club location is. So if we take both of these golfers down to club shaft parallel to the ground in the downswing, we will see golfer on the left and where the grip end of the club is relative to the ball, whereas the golfer on the right where the grip end of the club is relative to the ball. Golfer on the left is going to have a tough time striking the ground after. Golfer on the right is going to have a much easier time. Now here's a drill for you guys to practice at home or at the driving range or in your practice sessions to help you strike the ground in the right place. The only thing you're going to need is a golf towel. So here's how we set this drill up. There's three ways you can do this. First step is you're going to place your club right in line with your golf ball. If you want to make this drill easy difficulty, you place the towel right at the end of the grip of your club. If you want to make this drill medium difficulty, you take the towel and move it halfway up the grip. And if you want to make this extreme hard difficulty, you move it 1/4 up the grip. So now I'm going to start my practice. First thing I will do is I will remove the golf ball and try some swings without the ball to see if I can achieve this. So remember, we talked about your body weight and we talked about your wrists. If you can accomplish both of those things, you should not hit the towel. So as I start to demonstrate, moving my weight more to the left and keeping my wrist angles longer, I'm able to strike the ground after the ball. Okay, so now it's time to try with a ball. Can I get my weight forward and can I maintain my wrists longer? Let's see. Now let's discuss the other bad contact, which is topping. Two things I would like to discuss about topping the ball is a golfer's ability to maintain their incline to the ground and their ability to maintain the radius of the swing by keeping their arms straight. So what does incline to the ground mean? A simple way to think about this is when you start your swing, your body is at a bent angle relative to the ground. A good player can consistently swing on that same angle. A bad player, or someone who's struggling with topping the ball, generally changes that angle throughout the swing. So a good player's swing would look like this. See how my head stays relatively in the same place and my body is moving around that angle. A bad golfer, or someone who's struggling with topping, like I said, would change that angle, whether it looks like this or whether it looks like this. Their angle is changing too much throughout the swing, so they cannot hit the same spot on the ground each time. Golfers who lose their incline to the ground typically do not maintain enough rightward shoulder tilt from impact into the follow-through. Example would be a golfer on the left. As they make their downswing, they start to rise up and lose their rightward tilt, whereas the golfer on the right, as they would swing down, would maintain much more of that. If I continue into the follow-through, you'll see how the golfer on the left starts to stand vertically very early, whereas the golfer on the right maintains their rightward tilt much, much longer. As we go into the finish, golfer on the left is actually tilted to the left and has lost their incline to the ground tremendously, whereas the golfer on the right is still tilted 20 degrees to the right, maintaining their incline to the ground. Now let's discuss arm straight. You could imagine the swing as a big circle moving around our body. Keeping the left arm straight is very important to maintain the radius of that circle. Very good players, or people who consistently hit the ball well, are able to keep their left arm straight in the back at impact and into the follow-through. Poorer players, or golfers who don't make good contact, typically start to bend their left arm too much too early at impact, flex their arms more into the follow-through, which is a big commonality I see for people that top the ball. Now let's discuss the radius of the swing by a golfer's ability to keep their left arm straight, or how we would measure it by lead elbow flex. Notice the golfer on the left, as they start approaching impact, their lead arm starts flexing too much too early, 16 degrees at impact. Whereas the golfer on the right, as they're approaching impact, their lead arm or their left arm is actually straightening 0 degrees. If we watch into the follow-through, golfer on the left continues to flex and bend the left arm, whereas the golfer on the right would continue to straighten or have the left arm more extended. Now let's discuss a drill to help you maintain your incline to the ground and also the radius of your swing by keeping your left arm straight. You don't need a golf club for this. This is a very good drill to just teach your body how it needs to move in order to swing more consistent. Step one is I'm going to put my head lightly against a wall as I take my setup. Now I'm going to start with slow, short swings, trying to keep my head in the same place on that wall. You'll notice when I go into my follow-through how I will stop with my head still on the wall and both of my arms straight. Now that I've just practiced putting my head on the wall, I'm going to go ahead and hit a ball trying to replicate what I just practiced. All right, golfers, thanks for watching today's video. I hope one of these two drills will help you improve your contact with your irons. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and like and subscribe.